endometrial cycle is the cyclic fluctuations in the endometrium of uterus. In this video, I am going to tell you what is endometrium, its histology, and blood supply. Hey everyone, welcome back to HM Learnings. I am Harshita, the creator of HM Learnings, where students come to clear their concept and to get the study material. Make sure you subscribe our channel. So today we are back with the next video on the reproductive physiology, that is the endometrial cycle. So if you have seen the previous video on the oogenesis and the follicular development, in those videos we have talked about that how the gonadotropic hormones, they are fluctuating, and those fluctuations are causing the development of different follicles in the ovary, and those follicles are producing the hormones, and those hormones are responsible for the different ovarian cycle phases, and those hormones not only going to influence the uterus but also other parts of the reproductive system. But today we are going to see that how they are influencing the uterus in the topic of endometrial cycle. So endometrial cycle is a cyclic changes in the morphological and functional aspects of endometrium driven by ovarian hormones. So ovarian hormones are showing the fluctuations, the cyclic fluctuations, because of the gonadotropic hormones, and those ovarian hormones are being produced by the ovarian follicles, and then these ovarian hormones are going to act on the female reproductive organs like uterus, vagina, cervix, and in the endometrium it is also going to bring the morphological changes and the functional changes, and these are cyclic changes which is referred to as the endometrial cycle. So these cyclic changes are being divided into three major phases: the menstrual phase, the proliferative phase, and secretory phase. So we will look about these three phases in the next video. In today's video we are going to actually see, because we're talking about endometrium, so what is endometrium, what is its blood supply, which it makes the basic concept so that you can understand what are the changes which are happening during these three phases. So as I said, we need to first look at what is endometrium. So starting talking about the histology of the uterus, the wall of the uterus is being composed of three layers: the perimetrium, which is the outer layer called as serosa, it is called as perimetrium, which is serosa; the myometrium, which is a middle layer made up of smooth muscle cells; and the innermost layer, which is lining the cavity of the uterus, is the endometrium, which is a mucous membrane of the uterus. So in this diagram you can see that this is a perimetrium, the outermost layer, then this is myometrium, this particular bundle is the myometrium, the dark one, and then this dark one is the myometrium, and then the endometrium, which is this layer which is lining the cavity of the uterus. So now the question comes, what is endometrium? So we have seen that it is the innermost layer lining the cavity of the uterus. Now we'll talk about what is a tissue, or what does the endometrium is having. So endometrium, as I said, it's a mucous membrane which is lining the cavity of uterus, consisting of surface columnar epithelium and stroma, or the connective tissue called as a lamina propria. So basically endometrium is a mucous membrane. So if you know that a mucous membrane is something which is lining the cavity, which is lining the lumen of the cavity, just like in the gastrointestinal tract also, where the wall is made up of the four layers. So the innermost layer is a mucous membrane. So in the mucous membrane, always remember that the line which is lining the cavity, or the lumen of the cavity, is always the epithelium. Here it is the columnar epithelium, which are the tall epithelial cells with the nucleus at the base of the cell, and then below the epithelium there will be basement membrane, and below it will be the connective tissue. So that is a mucous membrane structure which is going to be same in all the cavities which are having the lumen, and they are lined by the mucous membrane. So we will see the histological diagram of it. So it's a schematic diagram which is showing the endometrium. So you can see that this is this part here, this is the lumen of the uterus, okay, and these are the columnar cells the surface epithelium, which are columnar cells. So columnar cells are actually the tall cells. This is a basement membrane. On the basement membrane, we are drawing the tall cells. These are the columnar cells with the nucleus at the center of the cells. So this is the surface epithelium. Now below it, you see this whole is the connective tissue. This whole is a connective tissue which can be called as a lamina propria or the stroma. So what does the connective tissue is having? So connective tissue is basically having the extracellular matrix, which is having the complex carbohydrates, and it is having the adhesive proteins also, okay, and it is also having the structural proteins that is forming the extracellular matrix. Then there will be cells also, such as fibroblasts, which is producing the collagen or other types of the fibers, and there could be other types of the cells which are called as the stroma. So stroma, you should remember, the stromal cells are the type of the cells which are formed in the connective tissue of the endometrium. And apart from this, the connective tissue is going to have the blood vessels. It is also going to have the lymphatics and the nerves also. So this is all being shown here. Also very important thing, the glands, the uterine glands. So these are the things which are showing you the uterine glands in the connective tissue. These small structures are the blood vessels, okay. So we have seen the glands, we have seen the blood vessels. These two are not being shown here, and in between you can say this is the extracellular matrix, the kind of a ground substance, and these dotted cells, you maybe say that these are the cells or the stromal cells. So this is what the histology of the endometrium. So it's a kind of a complex tissue which is having the epithelial tissue also as well as the connective tissue also. It's basically a mucous membrane. So this is important to remember because all these parts of the endometrium are going to be changed in different phases of the menstrual cycle and different phases of the endometrial cycle under the influence of the ovarian hormone. So how does estrogen is going to affect them, how does progesterone is going to affect them, that is we are going to see in the next video. So now the endometrium is actually functionally divided into the two layers. So you can see here that this is the complete endometrium. So the layer which is the 1/3 part of the endometrium, which is adjacent to myometrium. So this is myometrium. These are the smooth muscles. So the 1/3 part which is adjacent to the myometrium is called as a stratum basalis, and the 2/3 part, okay, from this part. So this part is the stratum functionalis, which is a 2/3 part of the endometrium. So these parts are also going to be like this is the functional layers. So you should remember these two also, because the thickness of the endometrium is also going to be changed in the different phases of the endometrial cycle. So the stratum functionalis is actually the layer which is shed off or scald off during the menstrual phase, okay, but the stratum basalis always remains, and from this layer only the regeneration process occurs during the proliferative phase. So we will talk about this in detail in the next video. So then we have seen that what is endometrium, what are the cells which are being there in the endometrium, and what is the functional two layers of the endometrium. Now we will look at to see what is the blood supply of endometrium, because this is also going to be showing the variation in different phases of the menstrual cycle. So this is a diagram, and this is showing you that you can see that this is the uterine artery, okay, and this is the ovarian artery. So both these arteries are branches of the internal iliac artery, and this uterine artery, this is also showing the uterine artery. So this is actually piercing or passing through the broad ligament. This is a broad ligament of the uterus. So here the broad ligament is being removed to show that what is happening. So this is a uterine artery, and this uterine artery is anastomosing with the vessels which are coming from the ovarian artery. So this is ovarian artery, this is uterine artery. They both join with each other to form a common artery, okay. So from this artery there will be branches which are arising. You can see here, these are the branches. These are the branches which are arising from this common artery. These branches are called as the arcuate arteries, okay. So I write here arcuate arteries. These arteries are going to supply the myometrium. Okay, now after this they have entered in the myometrium because they are supplying the myometrium. That's why they must have pierced the myometrium. So after this, these arcuate arteries are going to give rise to the, okay, I'll draw with the another color to make it clear. Okay, so they are going to give the another branches. These are called as a straight short basilar arteries. So after myometrium, what is the layer which is just adjacent to it is a stratum basalis. So this is the basilar arteries which are supplying the basalis layer of the endometrium. Okay, now these arteries are going to give branches. Okay, and these branches are not going to be straight but the coiled arteries. These are the coiled arteries. So these coiled arteries are going to be the spiral arteries which are supplying the functionalis layer of the endometrium. So this is important to remember because with different phases of the menstrual the endometrium cycle, this is also going to be changed. So this already covered. Then this is a diagram. I removed the ink. So this is going to be the uterine artery, okay, and this is the arcuate artery. So showing with the laser pointer, this is the arcuate artery which is supplying the myometrium. Then this is giving a branch. These are the short straight basilar arteries. These are the short straight basilar arteries. Then they are giving rising to the spiral arteries which are going till the superficial part of the endometrium. So this is just the same thing which I have told you. So we have seen the what is endometrium, what are the cells present in, and as well as the blood supply of the endometrium. So now these are basically the diagrams taken from the standard textbooks. So these upper ones, you can say these are the schematic diagrams, and these are the ones which you can see in under the microscope, that how does the endometrium appears during the different phases of the endometrial cycle. And that is why it is important to remember that what is basically endometrium is composed of, to appreciate the differences in the different phases of the endometrial cycle. So here this is a menstrual phase. Okay, so I will like in the next video I will definitely going to explain that how you are saying it's a menstrual phase, and this is a proliferative phase, and this is a secretory phase. So you can see that there is a change in the histology of the endometrium, both in the schematic diagrams and as well as under the microscope. So the endometrial layers are going to undergo the structural and functional changes during the endometrial cycles, and these changes, what are the things which are going to be changed during the endometrial cycle is the thickness of the endometrium, the stroma of the endometrium, the uterine glands, the uterine blood vessels, and the lymphatics. So with regard to these 5 things, we are going to see in the next video what happens during the menstrual phase, the secretory phase, and the proliferative phase. So with this, we are at the end of this video. This is an introductory video for the endometrial cycle. So these are the books or the references I have seen for the topic. So you can go into it if you want to look further. So if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe my channel. Till then, keep learning.